Hello and welcome to today's League of Legends sneak peek where I go over the games expected to occur tomorrow and you can predict in the comments who you think is going to win. So, full board. This board looks like a mess. We'll figure it out over time. How I'm going to do this, like I did for the LPL and LCK so far, you get 1 point for getting the winner right, and in their case, you get an extra point if you can predict the right outcome for the series, whether it's 2-1 or 2-0. Now, in the case of the LEC and LCS, if you get all 5 right, you get 3 points. That's what I'm going to do. You get 3 bonus points if you get all 5 right for LEC, 3 extra bonus points if you get all 3 of the LCS right. So, let's see, do the math. There are 14 games, 14 plus 4, 18, maybe 22 points on the table, maybe. So, if you enjoy that, comment down below with your predictions. So, let's go over this. Sandbox starts the split off against the Guangdong Freaks. The Guangdong Freaks beat HLE, and I just realized that was the only game I wrote down their last result against. So I'm going to be winging it for these LCK and PL previews, in that I have to remember who they played last. Nevertheless, I think Sandbox needs to give Krakow a carry and get Dove on a tank, because if Dove tries to match up against Keen, who I have as the player for KDF to watch, if they try and make that a skill matchup, they're going to get smoked. I will say, if I am the Freaks, I ban Vladimir, because Dove is a former mid laner. Vlad is probably in his wheelhouse. You do not want to play against his Vlad. His Vlad might stink, but it's going to probably be better than most top laners' Vlads. T1 and Nongshim Red Force. Red Force lost to DRX 2-1, I believe. Ghost looked good. BDD was nowhere to be found. I think they have to play aggressive against T1. We saw at MSI when teams were getting in the face of T1 in the early game, they got out to early leads, or at least kept up. And I think T1, when a team comes off of, they didn't have a long break, so they could be a little exhausted. Maybe you punch them in the mouth early and they won't know how to respond. I don't really know if Red Force will do that. In the case of T1, I think they just need to play the game. Play the game the way they have been playing it. Give Owner a good pick. Owner is creative. Let Carrier get creative. Pick a solid bot lane. I think bot lane's the weakest of the 3 roles right now. Faker can play Lissandra or Ari. And, if the meta is going the way we think it is, which is control mage, slow-paced games, Faker will be just fine in mid. So it'll be bot lane where T1 will have the most trouble, because Zeus can play anything top. LPL, JDG, actually, in the case of JDG, I still have my thing here from the power rankings. They last played Weibo. EDG last played Weibo. JDG played LGD. So, JDG, I think they need to give Kanavi a good pick, whether that's the Wukong, Talia, Lilia, something of the sort, because I think EDG, their worst player is JJ. The lanes aren't the issue, it'd be JJ. So give Kanavi a good pick, and I think Kanavi can beat EDG single-handedly. When it comes to EDG, I think Scout can take on Yagao pretty easily. So if you give Scout a good pick that'll influence the game, I think that he can outplay Yagao, because Yagao is probably the weakest player on JDG. So that's how it's going to be, Kanavi versus Scout in that one. RNG and FPX. RNG, first game of split. FPX have lost 2 series in a row. Last being against OMG. Did they really lose against OMG? I don't think so. They lost against some IG. They lost to IG. And that was because Jalahu keeps picking Fiora, and most of the time blind. And that is a ballsy thing to do. I love Jalahu. I think he's a really fun player to watch. I think that he when he's on, he's on. But he needs to stop doing that, and they need to put him on a shorter leash, and they will do better. Against RNG, because they're against RNG, you're not going to get away with that. You have to play perfect games against RNG to beat them. RNG, I think you give Xiaohu a counter against Care and let him do his thing. Whether it's Galio all over the Rift, Talia, those kind of picks are just going to give Xiaohu more power to control the game, just as he normally has in the past. Now we get into the weeds here, the LEC and LCS. All teams that we haven't seen play for a while, except for our 2 MSI teams. So, Vitality and Mad Lions. Vitality have Haru, and Mad Lions have Niski. So, how do we want to handle this? I think Vitality need to build continuity around their jungler. Haru, I don't think is probably as carry-oriented as Selfmade. Obviously, he carried in regional play, but I don't know if he's going to be a carry for this team. And I also think they need to drop the ego stat. Mad Lions need to get creative. So it's like, well, they also have Niski. Don't they need to build continuity and get comfortable together? And I think that's the case. But I think this Wukong pick, Armut plays Wukong. Get creative. Flex it. Threaten to flex it. Threaten the flex, and I think you have an advantage just with even that one pick. I like Elyoya's Lilia in the past. Kaiser, this meta allows for the support to really play a big role with enchanters and things that can possibly carry. The Renata, for example. And I think Kaiser is a really, really good support. Unfortunately, this past split, he didn't really show up the way I would have liked, but I think he's really good. BDS and SK, this is a bad matchup. This matchup is gross. I'm not a big fan of BDS or SK. I do, however, think Syncroft is pretty good. So give Syncroft the first pick if you're BDS. Get him a good pick because many games in spring, he got them ahead and then they would blow the game because the rest of the team stinks. Now, SK, attack top lane. I believe that top, I believe they went Aggressivo and Irrelevant went to Misfits. I think. So, go top lane and cause that matchup to become chaotic. Gen X is your best player. Get him ahead. Put him on the Gwen. Put him on something that can carry. Hell, I don't think Graves top is really a thing anymore, but maybe you have to think about it. It's not a thing. But put him on something that can carry. His Aatrox has looked good in the past. We saw an Aatrox mid today. So we got to do something. Misfits and Excel, 2 middling teams that, kind of similar to BDS and SK in the way that they're closely matched. And it's hard to really, where's the advantages. Excel, I think, need to ban Lee Sin first and foremost. Get Zlatan off of Lee Sin. And also ban Ahri. Those 2 need to be banned. Because if you give Vethio a good pick, a top pick in mid, he will carry the game. Which leads me to my point. Vethio can carry this damn game and win it by himself. And Zlatan is really good on the Lee Sin. So get rid of those 2 things if you're XL. Let Mickey X get a little weird in bot. Maybe that's a thing. Give Mursa a surprise. As far as Misfits are concerned, like I said, get Vethio a carry. Get him a big pick that can make things happen. And as far as top is concerned, you pick a tank so Finn does not do bad things to you, and Marcoon doesn't go top lane and do bad things to you. G2 versus Astralis, this one's real simple. Astralis have to be very aggressive. They have to punch G2 in the mouth right away. I think a level 1. If you do not get really creative and crazy, I really don't know how Astralis is going to win. If you recall, a couple days ago, I said LGD need to pray against JDG. Well, for today, I have G2. All they have to do is log in. So, simple as that. People say I don't like G2. I like G2 a lot better than Astralis. Now, on to Rogue and Fnatic. Malring, I feel like this meta allows, if a jungler is willing to play aggressively. Now, see, we're seeing some games in the LPL and LCK, and that's the thing. We don't know. Every region has their own style of playing. LEC is more like the LPL. LCS is more like a poor man's version of the LCK. So what are we going to see? Are we going to see a little bit of aggression, or are we not? In the LPL, we saw BLG and Ultra Prime today play very aggressive, more aggressive than any teams have played when it comes to dives and ganks in the early game, despite the towers being the way they are. Now, if you do that with Malring, I think that is an advantage for Rogue. I like Malring over Razork. I really do. Odo's got some solid numbers, but I don't really think he's all that much better than Wonder when it's all said and done. Mid's pretty close with Larson and Humanoid, and bot lane needs help. When it comes to Fnatic, give Hilly counter, and he will run this game over. Let him pick something and let him go. And this is a marquee matchup. This Rogue Fnatic might be, I think, is the best matchup of the day. Followed by, well, no, it's not. Sorry, EU fans. It's definitely EDG and JDG. EDG and JDG is the first one. Rogue and Fnatic is number 2. And I would say EG-C9 is number 3, which we're about to get into now, the LCS. EG, Inspired. Let Inspired go. I am imagining Inspired on a Lilia right now, and he is in control. C9, play for bot lane. Sven, King and Sven might be playing. Sven and Destiny. Sven might be away from the team. Somebody said something to me a couple days ago, and I already forgot. Damn one, Fred Brion took it all away from me. All my mind just oozed out of my head. So play for bot, because bot's going to be a problem. Danny can carry if you let him. And Vulcan is not great, but he's better than Destiny and better than Sven at support, I imagine. And yeah, so there's that. Golden Guardians and FlyQuest. I think Golden Guardians need to let Pride Stalker do what he wants. There are picks in this meta that can be interesting. We saw Kha'Zix today. I feel like that could be a Pride Stalker thing. He likes to do assassins, even though assassins are kind of weak. He can play a bruiser assassin if he wants. FlyQuest, I think a Senna lane is massive. So Golden Guardians needs to ban Senna. Big time. Ban Senna, and that takes a lot of FlyQuest power away. And then it comes down to Jose versus Pride Stalker. But if they give Senna up, I think FlyQuest are going to win the game. 100 Thieves versus TSM. TSM need to get aggressive, and this is not a shot like I did with the Strauss and G2. I think that Shen Yi needs to be let off his, how do I word this? Shen Yi needs to be allowed to play aggressively, and if they play aggressively, they will take it to 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves will play a 0-0 game. They are like the Fred at Brion. No, I mean, they're better than Fred at Brion. Well, they just play a really slow, boring style. Closer can carry for 100 Thieves and make things happen and really cause some problems for TSM. So I have 100 Thieves, Closer being the guy to watch. But I think TSM, if they can play aggressive with Shen Yi, let Shen Yi roam, maybe affect mid lane, get Maple ahead. Could see some nice things. Immortals versus TL. Ignar versus Santorin, the two former FlyQuest members. Whoever can affect the solo lanes more will have a chance, will win. If TL can do it, they'll win. But it's going to be an interesting top matchup between Revenge and Bwipo. Their laning stats are actually pretty good. Bwipo's outstanding. As far as mid's concerned, PoE versus Bjerg, this fits them to a T. I would be afraid. Actually, I didn't write this down. I just thought about it. This is a meta where PoE might really make things happen. The TL Zillion might have to come out. Now, Dignitas and CLG. They put the best game of the day last. CLG, I have go top lane because I don't think Gamsu is really all that great. Give Dokla an easy matchup and see what happens. As far as Dig's concerned, I think you should go mid lane with River and let River beat Palafox. I mean, not River. Let River go mid lane and allow Blue to take advantage of Palafox. Give Biofrost an Enchanter. He's probably the best Enchanter support in the LCS, and I think they have a good chance. That bot lane matchup will be spicy, though, between Neo, Biofrost, and Luger Poom, so pay attention to that. But nevertheless, if you sat through this whole video, predict the games down below. Like I said, you get a point for predicting the right teams, an extra point for getting the series amount right, and an extra couple points, 2 or 3 points, for getting all 5 LEC games or all 5 LCS games. I think it was Oh, geez. I ended up with 22, didn't I? We're going to count again. 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 plus 10, 18, 2, 2. 2 each. So, extra 2 bonus points if you get all 5 teams right. Thank you for watching, and I hope you come back for more content.